All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry did his first interview since pulling out at UFC 296. He did it with Ariel Helwani, and he did it just yesterday. I want to talk about it in today's video. I'm going to try and point out some of the stupid things that he said, some of the contradictions that he made, and things like that. And I know that a lot of people are focusing on the fact that he 100% had a script right in front of him, okay? I don't want to focus on that a whole lot in this video. I'll point it out at moments, but I don't think it's inherently bad that he had a script written. What I do think is, though, is that makes it a hell of a lot worse, consider you were able to make so many stupid statements, so many contradictions with something pre-written. It kind of shows you that he is not really thinking for himself, to the point where he's not even proofreading what his wife has written for him and thinking, maybe I shouldn't say that part because it kind of contradicts what I've said earlier. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try and focus on the stupid things that he said, and I'm going to play some clips for you guys. I'll react to those, give my thoughts and opinions, try to counter some of the things that he said and things like that. So let's get to it right away. This clip is not one of Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry. This is a very small clip from Ariel Helwani speaking that, in my opinion, kind of set the tone for this interview. It probably happened a little bit earlier, but for me, this was a good portion to show what kind of interview this was going to be, where Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry is not going to get really any hard questions. Ariel Helwani is going to do his best to try and aid and assist him in making these excuses and things like that. So I'm going to play that clip for you right now.
And so that's a really interesting point. Like, you know, there have been polarizing figures in this sport, right? Perhaps none more so than Conor McGregor, someone that you look up to. But no one speaks of his partner, his fiance. Your wife, Layla, has been talked about in this story as much as you, if not maybe more than you. And so how we're...
Now, that point about bringing up Conor McGregor's wife and how she doesn't ever get brought up, so it's really strange to see that Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry's wife is getting brought up in trash talk and conversations and things like that, in my opinion, is completely disingenuous and lacks a ton of context. Now, somebody can remind me, right? Refresh my memory if I'm just not remembering something correctly. I don't ever recall D. Devlin making t-shirts with an opponent's mugshots on them. I don't ever recall D. Devlin posting a photo of one of Conor McGregor's opponents and hashtagging Stop Child Abuse and things like that, along with a massive write-up about the individual he was fighting. D. Devlin is a very quiet supporter of her husband. The only time we ever really see her is on Conor's arm. The only time we hear about her or hear from her is fucking never, right? That's why D. Devlin does not get brought up in trash talk and or conversations. Layla Ann, whatever the fuck her name is, has inserted herself into this game. She includes herself and joins in on the attacks of Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry's opponents, okay? D. Devlin does not do that, at the very least from what I can remember, okay? Also, I want to come back to this a little bit later, so we'll just put a pin in it for now. There is another point that I want to make regarding Conor McGregor and wives, okay? But we will come back to that, as I said. Also, I want to point this out. This is neither here nor there, but that cringe shirt that Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry is wearing that says vegan on it, okay? I looked up this company, and it makes all the sense in the world. This is a soy, literal soy, vegan company from Canada, okay? And I can say this because I'm Canadian, and it makes all the sense in the world that a vegan Canadian company would want to do business with a guy like Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry, okay? I just wanted to point that out, but I digress. Let's move on. Now, the next clip that I want to play for you guys is a question from Ariel Helwani, and I'll play that for you right now.
You know, over the past 2 years or so since you entered the UFC, I've heard you say to me and others, like, you want to be a disruptor, right? You did that in Boston. Even in July, like, you were a hot topic because you wore the T-shirt with the mugshot and whatnot.
Yeah.
Was there any part of you that came to the realization, like, hey, if I'm going to be a disruptor, I'm going to have to deal with what comes with that?
No, because my job is selling. My job is promoting my fight to the best level I can, to show up and have the most fun at the fight night I can. I'm not viciously assaulting and attacking people's families in any way, shape, or form to the way that the MMA world is going at a very toxic level. I mean, the best example is he's an absolute piece of shit for doing this, but it's a perfect example. You've got someone like Colby Covington, who isn't trash talking, he's desperate. To the point at which he mentioned a person's, his father's murder to sell a fight. He used that sore point in someone's life to try to stay relevant, to try win a mental battle. That's the point in MMA where we're at. And then we've got people like Sean Strickland who are talking all that mad stuff online, attacking people's families and people's wives. And the truth is, he is just someone who is dealing with his childhood trauma, the hurt and the pain from his past, and projecting it to the world. I'm not that. I am selling a fight and having fun in my life. And that's it. I'm a disruptor. I'm a disruptor, just like Jake Paul and Logan Paul and Conor McGregor and all of the best, biggest stars in the world are disruptors. But there's a fine line.
Now, this question was about, in the past, Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry has said that he wanted to be a disruptor or a disturber of sorts, right? Okay, now, to me, this was one of the worst answers. By the way, I will continue to refer back to my notes. It is not a script. It's just notes, but either way, dude, okay? Almost little to no self-awareness whatsoever on behalf of Ian Magado Cherry from this answer right here. Now, as I said, Ariel asks him, as you've said in the past, you wanted to be a disturber, disruptor of sorts, right? And isn't this just maybe part of it, right? You dish it out, you're also going to receive it and things like that. His answer is absolute garbage, okay? Quote, I am not viciously assaulting. By the way, he uses that word quite a bit. I would imagine that Layla and whatever her name is, dude, highlighted that with like yellow and then underlined it in red so that he knows to add emphasis to that word for dramatic effect, okay? In my opinion, that's him intuition pumping, or at the very least, he's trying to morally load something, right? Because he's talking about trash talk and he's using the term assault, right? Which is a little just, okay, chill, dude, right? But either way, he goes on to say, or attacking someone's family in any which way, shape, or form, which is very important to me. Now, Neil Magny might beg to differ, okay? Any shape or form, quotes, you shouldn't have maybe said those words. You could have just stopped at I'm not attacking anyone's family, because I would argue that attacking somebody like Neil Magny, okay, for some autistic trash talk that didn't come out all that great, and twisting that into him beating his child, right, and it having repercussions for him outside of the octagon in literal family court, I would argue that's a shape or a form of attacking someone's family, okay? In the Vegan Magado Cherry, you need to know when to just cut your sentence off. He does this quite frequently where he'll get asked a question and it takes 17 fucking minutes for him to answer, and he really didn't say a whole lot, but either way. The second part of this that I want to touch on is kind of what I was alluding to earlier with the Conor McGregor thing that I said we would put a pin in, okay? He goes after Colby and Sean both, acting as if they are these horrible, horrible people for using someone's family as a sort of attack vector, right? More specifically with Colby, but either way. And the comments about Leon's deceased father, right? And Strickland with the attacks he was levying towards Ian Garry's wife and himself, right? Then he goes on to talk about how he wants to be like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Conor McGregor, the world's biggest stars, the best disruptors, and it is a very fine line, okay? What I would ask Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry is then, okay, when Conor McGregor went after Khabib's wife for literally no fucking reason whatsoever, when Conor McGregor went after Dustin Poirier's wife for literally no reason whatsoever, when Conor McGregor used Ali Abdelaziz's child as a form of trash talk, when Ali Abdelaziz is not a fighter, he's not fighting him, he's a manager, okay? And by the way, I don't like Ali Abdelaziz. I think he's a snitch, and a terrorist snitch at that, okay? But either fucking way, Conor did that. Did he in the Vegan Magado Cherry have a problem with it, and would he publicly denounce it today? Do you know what I mean, right? Claiming when Colby does it, it's not trash talk, it's desperate. Using a very sore point in someone's life, he says, right? Oh, you mean how you did with Jeff Neal's mugshot, right? A very sore point in Jeff Neal's life you used as a way to attack him, right? I mean, Jesus, the fucking contradictions were flowing out of this guy like soy out of a vegan's bloodstream, okay? I guess it's better to scam all of your fans with crypto, with a crypto game that you promised, only to try your absolute best to not pay anybody back when you finally do decide you're gonna, well, you know, because we're not doing so well in court, I will offer some sort of payback program, only try to pay back about 11 to 12% of all money that was spent, and also in exchange for no more lawsuits whatsoever. I guess it's better to do that and create all of those sore spots than it is to use somebody else's against them in trash talk. Either way, let's move on. Okay, the next clip I'm gonna play for you guys right now. All right, now.
And whether it's this year or whether it's next year, I'd love Sean Strickland, because any man or any person who ever talks or mentions me, my wife, and my family in that way, I'm going to get my hands on. And in an ideal world, towards the end of the year, I don't think Sean Strickland's going to be the world champion anymore. And I believe there's absolutely an opportunity for me to step up to middleweight and give him a hiding. And maybe I'll beat him so bad that he'll forget all that trauma from his childhood and he can thank me.
And so
All
where
right,
does
now, he was asked about his hit list, which this was one of those answers that took 43 minutes to fucking to dole out, okay? But I want to focus on specifically the Sean Strickland part. Now, we've got him getting asked about his hit list, as I said, and he goes through and he explains it all with way too many fucking words, but either way. What I want to focus on is what he says about Sean Strickland, because to me, this is one of the best examples of him reading off of a script. You can literally see him, like, look down multiple times. Sometimes it's for multiple sentences where he's looking down, like he didn't quite read that far before he started the interview, which is what I wanted to point out. You can tell from the look on this motherfucker's face after he says that line about Sean Strickland's childhood trauma. Either one of two things, both are pretty dumb, okay? Either his wife 100% wrote this for him. He did not proofread it. He didn't get that far, at the very least, in proofreading. And when he read that line, he was very pleased with his wife. And he was trying to contain himself because he thought, oh, fuck, that was a good one. Okay? It's either that or he wrote it himself and he's so pleased with his own line that he had to pre-write down for himself, right? That he couldn't remember. So that's why I think it was written by his wife, not him. Because otherwise, I feel like you have a joke like that, it would just stick in your head, right? But either way, he literally looks like a fucking fourth grader who just made it through an entire paragraph, right? That the teacher asked him to read aloud to the class without fucking up a single time. He looks so pleased with himself, but either way. Now, I'm not going to complain about what he said. I've made this crystal clear in multiple videos on this channel. I don't give a fuck what anybody says when we're talking about trash talk. These guys are going to get inside of a cage, try to knock each other out, try to break each other's arms, try to do whatever. They're going to go legally, physically assault each other in a cage. I don't care about mean words, but I will say this, right? And there's a point about Neil Magny that I'll make later on. Again, we'll just put another pin in that, where he goes on to talk about how strong his morals are and how he had to say something about what Neil Magny said because nobody else had called him out on it, right? And blah, blah, fucking blah, because of this child abuser that Ian the Vegan Magado Cherry manufactured in his own brain, okay? It's funny that he would then go on to poke fun at somebody else's childhood trauma. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done it. I mean, Sean Strickland went hard at him and his wife. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just funny as somebody that claims to have such strong morals, especially when referring to children and physical abuse and things like this, you would then go make fun of somebody for that. But either way, dude, let's move on, okay? Now, this last portion is near the Neil Magny and Jeff Neal portion that I spoke about earlier, right? Now, Ariel actually asks a decent question here, so I'll play the clip for you right now. All right.
Neil Magny spoke up about some of the issues that he had following the comments that you made about him. Do you have any regrets about those comments?
I did not make any comments about Neil Magny. Neil Magny made comments about himself. I just called him up on it. As someone with strong morals, I called him up on what he said, his wording. That's it. Nobody else did on that day, so I felt it was my job to call him up on it.
Right now. All right,
okay,
now,
so then
something that I found to be absolutely fucking hilarious about this bit here is Ian says, quote, I didn't make any comments about Neil Magny. He made comments about himself, and I just called him up on him. Okay. And strong morals and all the rest of the other fucking bullshit. Okay, great, dude. Now, leaving aside the fact that you absolutely added words, changed words, and, you know, swapped words out or whatever to morally load what Neil Magny actually said, because what he really said wasn't all that bad, right? Also interpreting it in maybe the least charitable possible way you could have, right? Let's just forget about that for a second. Is that not exactly what everybody was doing with you and your wife? Now, maybe the comment sections were an absolute shit show because he's talking about how people were calling her a PDF file, people were calling her a groomer, all this shit, right? I'm sure that the comment sections were out of hand, okay? But the commenters were not who you and your wife filed lawsuits against, right? You filed lawsuits against content creators who used your own words, more specifically your wife's own words, actually from her own fucking book, right? That she wrote herself, okay? And perhaps, maybe a little bit on some occasions, a little bit of uncharitable interpretations were done. Perhaps, maybe not, regarding the book and, as I said, yours and her relationship, right? And the last two names, the ex-husband living with you, all of this shit, this is all information that you've put out yourself to the public, right? You chose to put it out. You chose to make your life public. That is what it is, right? In other words, didn't these content creators just call you up on it? right? Like what you did to Neil Magny, right? I just took his own words. I called him up on him, right? Didn't they just call you up on him? Yeah? Isn't that what they did, eh? I mean, honestly, not for a fucking second does this cross this guy's mind. Like, as I said, either he didn't proofread the whole thing, or he literally is a mindless robot that is completely controlled by Layla Ann, whatever the fuck. Because I don't understand how he could read that out and then not clue in to, oh, that's kind of what people were doing to my wife and me, only it didn't really have any outside consequences other than maybe my wife was upset, other than maybe I was upset or whatever. There was no real repercussions that came of it, right? Whereas Neil Magny is dealing with this shit in family court, and the quotes that he used for autistic trash talk against you are being used against him in family court, right? So I don't understand how he could go on to say that when that's literally what people did to him. And instead of just dealing with it, they're filing lawsuits on content creators. Because look, whether or not you agree with the interpretation of some of the people that have made videos, including myself, what you can't say is that they just straight up lied, right? We literally all used information that him and his wife put out there to the world. We interpreted it perhaps in a different way, or we focused on, you know, different aspects and ignored others, maybe, who knows. But nothing that was said was like just a flat out lie. So it's strange to me. Also, I want to throw this in at the end here. He made an excuse for going after Jeff Neal, and I just want to play that for you real quickly. It's a very short clip. Now,
I only pulled him up on him. Would I have changed the Jeff Neal thing? Fuck no, no. It was hilarious. It was fun. I had a good laugh with it. You know what I mean? That's the thing. If you're selling, no one knows who Jeff Neal is.
Very short clip. Now, it was hilarious, quote, pardon me. It was hilarious. I had a good laugh, and no one knows who he is. Okay, bud. Well, I hope you keep that same energy when it comes to all the WAG shirts that are being created, because I'm sure that to Kevin Holland, to me, many others, they were fucking hilarious, and I had a good laugh over them, right? So, chill. Anyways, dude, these are the stupid things, some of the stupid things, dude. This was a 36-minute long interview, and it was hard to get through. I had to listen to it a couple of times so I could try to pick up on other stupid things that he said. He said a hell of a lot more stupid things, but these are what I wanted to focus on in today's video. Now, anyways, dude, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.